As next year's elections draw closer, a voter registration drive will be held next weekend. The Independent Electoral Commission is urging all those eligible to sign up and exercise their democratic right to vote. IEC Chairperson Mosotho Moepya joins us now. Mosotho, good afternoon to you and thank you so much for joining us. Maybe just give us, sometimes it's good to reflect how far the Chapter 9 institution has come in managing the country's elections, established in 1996. Just give us a quick historical background of the IEC before we get into the meat of the voter registration weekend.
Thank you so much, Cindy, and good afternoon to eNCA viewers. Indeed, our democracy will be 30 years old next year. If it was a child, that child would only be 30. We are a very young democracy. We have come a very long way from the elections of 1994, which took place in a very short space of time. The Commission then, we understand, met for the very first time on the 27th of December for an election they set out to take place on the 27th of April. So they literally had 4 months to do an election from scratch, no staff, nothing. We have since come a long way. We are a commission that is established. We are a permanent body, constitutional body. We register voters, we conduct by-elections, and we run general elections. We have had 6 so far. We are going into our 7th, and that's how far we have gone. Each one of them has been better than the one preceding it. And these are elections South Africans have held as being credible, as being free, and as being fair. In fact, not only South Africans, the world rates us fairly highly as an institution. But we know that we are as good as the next job we need to undertake. So there is no room for complicity in the situation.
And that's precisely that your work essentially starts after the completion of the previous election. So there is absolutely no rest in your case, Mosotho. But now looking at the logistics of putting together not only a voter registration, the mandate of the Independent Election Commission, also to ensure that there is transparency, that there is voter confidence in the process as well.
Yes. Our trust in the work we do is our currency. People have to trust us with the work we do. And it doesn't take political parties and candidates only. It takes voters, it takes society, it takes business. When I talk to business, I always remind them that one of the ways in which they can say we have held a good election, it's when they look at the JSE and they find that the all-share index has climbed up by some percentage or 2 or so. And that is important for everyone. The world gauges our stability, amongst others, on what we achieve in the work that we do. And so we take it very seriously.
Yeah, and how different is the landscape from about 5 years ago, primarily when it comes to eligible candidates and not only the new formations of political parties that will be contesting the elections?
It is very different. It's very, very different because we are going to have for the first time independent candidates as the one sure thing. The only thing that we do not know is, what are going to be the requirements. As you know, some of those requirements have been challenged in the Constitutional Court. The court had that matter early in September. It is still considering the debate it has heard, and in that process, we are all very anxious. And I must say, from the Electoral Commission's point of view, there is a lot of anxiety because those issues are at the heart of the preparations for the elections. We have to have systems that deal with independent candidates. If we are not sure what the requirements are going to be, these are things that we have to program, we have to write code, and we have to test and be sure that they work. But most importantly, we have to provide these facilities to the candidates and political parties to begin to be au fait with them and use them in an election that potentially may be 6 months away, may next year is the earliest time in which an election can be held. And, you know, between May and August, we know that sometime there's going to be an election.
All right, but you would have an inclination as to what the date would be, except at the moment, obviously, you are restrained. You can't tell us. What's the date for the elections? Mosotho, so we can, you know, put aside time.
Let me give you a scoop, Cindy. It's going to be between May and August. That's the
Yeah, you didn't disappoint. That was very expected. But talk us through the business of contesting elections, not only for the independent candidates. It is not an easy or inexpensive exercise for political parties and independents in particular to contest. What does it take exactly to participate in this space?
Well, you know, one of the duties we have in a constitutional democracy is to ensure that you know, people don't just vote, but that right to vote is given meaning. In other words, we put everything in place to be sure that, you know, that which the voter believed they did when they exercised their right to vote, in fact, translates into a reality and their expectation. And to do so, amongst others, means that we have to prepare them as a society. We have to prepare them as voters. We have to prepare those who are going to be candidates and political parties. And a reality of that is that you've got to balance frivolity on the one side with meaningfulness on the other. And that's really the job that is before us as the Electoral Commission. Some of the issues that are before the court implicate this very reality that we are talking about.
All right, it just gives us enough time to talk about the activities for the voter registration weekend next week and what eligible voters and especially the youth, I'm not sure, you know, in terms of the outcomes. That has always been a perennial problem of voter apathy, or also the fact that people just feel it doesn't really make a difference because we still have these perpetual challenges of inequality, poverty and unemployment. What is the difference? What are the activities you're embarking on, Mosotho?
Well, the world over, we face, you know, a challenge that the world faces. One of those is, you know, a democratic recession, you know, where there are challenges of young people, not only here, around the world, registering and voting. There are also challenges about whether, you know, people perceive democracy to have given them the fruit they thought they would have. It's not a short-term race. It's, you know, I did indicate that our democracy is very young. There are democracies that are more than 200 years old, and we are doing very well in comparison. But the truth of the matter is we have to deal with our expectations back home. For us, we are doing everything possible to give young people a platform to register and to follow them as we seek them to enroll as voters. We are encouraged by what they tell us because we are in constant communication with them. We think that political parties must do the same because here's an issue, Cindy. We can encourage people to register, but we can't encourage them to vote for us. Those that are going to be contestants in this election need to say to them, this is me. I want to hear what you're interested in, and I want to do that which you desire. But for me to do that, I want you to register and therefore vote. And that really is the important
Yes, thank
part.
you. We're going to have to leave it there. That is the IEC Chairperson, Mosotho Moepya, talking about the voter registration weekend next week. So still to come here on All Angles, the Soweto Derby.